right, boys and girls, I'm going to walk you through the steps for how to create your landscape. First of all, notice which way my paper is turned. My paper is turned nice and long so I can create a really nice wide landscape. Now, if you want to, you can turn your paper this way, okay? But just know then that your landscape will not be as long, which is, it's usually how people make them. People usually turn their paper this way. So that's how I'm going to keep my paper. You can turn it however you want, but I'm going to have mine turned so it's nice and wide. Okay, so to start off, we want to get kind of a feel. Before we make any marks on our paper, we want to get a feel for how we would divide our paper in half, where the middle of our paper is. It looks like it would be about here. And then if we wanted to divide it in half this way, it looks like it would be about here. We'll just keep that in mind in the back of our head. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make the horizon line. The horizon line is where the sky meets the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and make a horizon line kind of near the middle of my paper. I made my horizon line a little wavy. If you want to make yours straight, that's okay. I made mine a little wavy because I wanted to show that there were some hills. Then, below your horizon line, you're going to add another line. So if your first line was straight, your next line will be a little straight too. If it was wavy like mine, go ahead and add another one. These two lines do not need to be the same distance apart all the way across, okay? They can be a little bit closer together in some spots and a little bit farther apart. Next, we're going to start making some buildings or some houses on our horizon line, okay, to make it look like there's stuff out in the distance. So I'm going to go ahead and make a house, and I'm using simple shapes. So I'm going to use a square shape and a triangle shape for my house. That triangle shape is supposed to be the roof. If you guessed roof, you are correct. I'm going to add a door and some windows using all the shapes that we know about. I mean, really, they can be any shape you want. Maybe there's a little tree maybe next, or maybe a little bush actually. I'm not going to do a tree yet. I'll do a little bush next to my house. Maybe there's a smaller bush on the other side. Okay. Next, we're going to start to add some more trees. So trees can be a little tricky. I'm going to show you a really simple way for making a tree. We want to keep in mind that in real life, a tree would be taller than the house usually. So we're going to go ahead and make that tree, make sure we make that tree taller. So we're going to start on our horizon line again. We're going to go up these little kind of like spiky tops. And then we're going to come back down. That's our tree trunk. Now we need to add some leaves to our tree. So I'm going to use a bumpy line. Oop, my bumpy line went off the paper. That's okay. I'll just pretend that my bumpy line is going to come back onto the paper. There's my first tree. Maybe make another tree right next to it. Maybe I'll make this one a little bit shorter. Still using those little spikes to show the branches. And then I've got my bumpy line showing those leaves again. And maybe over here, maybe I want to do just a little bit of bumpy line in the corner to show that there's part of a tree that kind of went off the paper. We don't see it, but we know it's there. Now we can add even more details. Right now, we've already created details in the background. The background of our landscape is always going to be the parts that are above the horizon line. But below the horizon line, we're going to make the foreground. So we're going to start drawing other things. These things are going to be bigger in size because they look like they appear closer to us as we're looking at our landscape. So I'm going to start to make some flowers. I use a circle for the center. And there's that bumpy line again. I really like using that bumpy line. Maybe a little stem and some leaves coming down. Oh, I love drawing flowers, especially this time of year because they're really starting to bloom. Hopefully you're getting outside for some walks and seeing the flowers bloom too. Just keep adding in all these pretty details to our landscape. Your landscape does not need to look like Mrs. Dooley's. Your landscape doesn't even need to have flowers if you don't want it to be. It could have some cars maybe in the front. maybe some people, maybe it's your family. It's totally up to you. The last thing you're going to do to your landscape once you're done drawing it is you're going to add some color. One more thing I want to show you though really quickly is I'm going to make a little path. I'm going to make a little path that starts at my doorway and kind of comes down and over the hills like this. To make a landscape look realistic, things that we draw that are farther away, like in the background, they're always going to be smaller than things that are up closer in the foreground, okay? Because we know that when we look out into the distance, things become smaller as they get farther away. So my path is going to start out small. It's going to get a little wider right there. Now we don't see it dip down because this is a hill, so we don't see that part kind of dipping down. And then it's going to come back up and around, and actually my path is going to go right into these flowers. Look at that. Wow. A nice little pathway to our beautiful house in our landscape. I hope this video helped you create your landscape, and I can't wait to see how they turned out. Good luck!